राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome all of you to our grand culmination, our last session of Bhagavad Gita as it is. So today, Krishna willing, we will complete the study of Bhagavad Gita as it is. So this is, I believe, the 104th session. So we've completed the entire Bhagavad Gita in 104 sessions. So we thank Rohini Mataji for actually keeping account and sharing the daily messages. So 104th episode, right? It's between 100 and 108. It's always auspicious, right? So 104th episode, we welcome all of you for this 104th episode of this Bhagavad Gita as it is. And today is the grand culmination, which means next Monday onwards, we will start with Srimad Bhagavatam study. So Grantraj Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So let's start with our prayers. Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Mandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapatakamelam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tum Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Varjana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shakanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवारी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रधायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरदुषे नमः पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरून् दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यमीश्वरं हरि ओं तत्सत् गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः हरेर्नामैव केवलं खलु नास्त्येव गतिरन्यथा कलेर्दोषे निधे राजन्नस्ति हि एकोन्महान् गुणः कीर्तनादेव कृष्णस्य मुक्तसङ्गः परं व्रजेत् ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Hare Krishna. So thank you very much, dear devotees, for joining in for our last session of this Bhagavad Gita study. Today, we are going to start from 18.67, right? So the last two verses that we did yesterday are very, very important verses. We are actually doing Mananam. We are meditating on this important verse, 18.65. Man mana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru. Ma me vaishasi satyam te prati jane priyosi me. So Krishna is telling us, giving us simple 4 instructions, right? After giving so many instructions of Sankhya Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and the last say 6 chapters, Jnana Yoga, everything. Finally, in 18th chapter, Krishna is summarizing. We also saw yesterday how Krishna is, even though Arjuna has stopped asking, right? Arjuna is now clear. Now Arjuna is willing to do what Krishna is going to tell him. But yet, even without Arjuna's asking, Krishna himself is again and again repeating some of the very important instructions because Krishna wants us to make the right choice. So Krishna is so much concerned about our welfare so that we make the right choices, so that we arrive at the right destination. Upon completing the study of the Bhagavad Gita, we take the right actions at the end of it so that we can go back to Godhead. Right? Studying Bhagavad Gita, hearing Bhagavad Gita is one aspect of it. But how do we apply the teachings of Bhagavad Gita in our life according to the purports of Srila Prabhupada is a more important factor that we need to focus on. So every Ekadashi now that we will be focusing on Bhagavad Gita, we'll be doing a complete study and we'll also be doing this Mananam of 2 important verses of Bhagavad Gita. Right? So Shobha Mataji will be sharing two important verses at the end of every Ekadashi, which we will meditate upon until the next Ekadashi. So what does this Mananam mean? Right? This week we are meditating on 18.65, Man Mana Bhava Mad Bhakto. Right? So we keep on have to reiterating to ourselves what will please Krishna. It will please Krishna if you always remember Krishna. Mad Bhakto, it will please Krishna if you become a devotee of Krishna. Mad Yaji, it will please Krishna if you worship Krishna very nicely. Mam Namaskuru, it will please Krishna if you offer obeisances to Krishna, right? And then Krishna also makes a promise, right? If you do all these things, Ma me vaishyasi satyam te, you will definitely come back to me. That is the truth. You will definitely come back to me, and there is no doubt, right? Ma me vaishyasi satyam te prati jane priyosime. I'm making this promise to you because you are very dear to me. Right? So Krishna is making this promise to all of us. So follow these 4 instructions and come back to me. And then Krishna is saying, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo, Mokshishami Mashuchaha. Give up all varieties of religion and simply surrender unto me. And how do we surrender? Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varjanam, Rakshishyati Vishwaso, Gopatratve, Varnam Tata, Atmanikshepa Karpanye, Sadvida, Sharanagati. So in the purport, Prabhupada actually quotes from Hari Bhakti Vilas, wherein he is telling what are the limbs of surrender, 6 limbs of surrender. Anukulyena Sankalpa. That means to do things that are favorable for our devotional service. Pratikulyasya Varjanam. To not do things that are not favorable for devotional service. Rakshishyatiti Vishwaso. Have faith in Krishna, that Krishna will always protect me. Right? In this connection, I always quote the story of Parikshit Maharaj. Right? Parikshit Maharaj was protected by Krishna at the time of being in the womb of Mother Uttara. And that was the expected kind of protection, right? That is what Mother Uttara asked for. And she got the expected kind of protection. But at the end of Parikshit Maharaj's life, when he was destined to die at the end of 7 days by the snake bite, Takshak will come and bite Parikshit Maharaj. That time it seemed like Krishna had forsaken Parikshit Maharaj. Krishna is no longer protecting Parikshit Maharaj. It's the same Parikshit Maharaj whom Krishna had protected by going into the womb of Mother Uttara. So does it seem that Krishna is not protecting Parikshit Maharaj? But the Acharyas explain that even now Krishna is protecting Parikshit Maharaj, but it is not in the way we expect. It is not that Krishna has to always protect our material things, our material body, and in this way only Krishna will protect us. The way Krishna protects us, we are no one to dictate the terms. We are no one to expect, oh, Krishna has to protect me like this. Right? Krishna always protects, but how he wants to protect is up to Krishna. Because Krishna is our Suhradam Sarva Bhutanam. He is our best friend. So he can never do something that is bad for us. So Krishna will always protect us. We have to have that Rakshishyatiti Vishwa. So Raksha means Krishna always protect us. And we need to have that faith. Whatever happens to me, Krishna is always protecting me. Right? Either by giving his remembrance or either by giving me association of devotees, whatever be the way that Krishna wants. Krishna is always protecting me. Rakshishyatiti Vishwaso Gopatratve Varanam Tatha. Like the gopis, we're always thinking that Krishna is my eternal master, right? Whatever he may do, Ashvishava Padratam Pinashtumam, Adarshanan Maramatam Kurutu. Oh Krishna, you do whatever you want. You are our Lord. We eternally worship you. That is a kind of surrender. Atmanikshepa. Atmanikshepa means completely surrendering oneself to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Atmanikshepa. Karpanye. Karpanye means with all humility. When we understand the greatness of the Lord, humility is the natural consequence. We don't have to aspire to become humble. When we simply understand Krishna's instructions, knowing well the greatness of Krishna, aham sarvasya prabho matta sarvam pravartate, iti matva vajante ma budhavava samanvitaha. Krishna is so great. I am part and parcel of Krishna. So I have to surrender to Krishna. Jivere swarupe Krishna nitya das. So what is the job profile of a das? Job profile of a das is to humbly serve the master, isn't it? So these are the 6 limbs of surrender. Sadvida Sharanagatihi. All right. So now let's move forward to text number 67. Right. Again, what is Krishna saying here? Whom this knowledge should not be given? Whom should not this knowledge should be given? And who is the person who is most dear to me? Now Krishna is summarizing. Now you've heard this. What are you going to do about it? Whom are you going to preach to? How are you going to preach to? And what will you get if you preach this knowledge of Krishna consciousness? So these are all falashrutis. And also whom you should not preach to. And then in the purport, Prabhupada will talk about a very important concept of how the devotee is even more merciful than Lord Sri Krishna himself. All right, let's move ahead. 18.67. 18.67. Okay, Srimati Shamapriya Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams.
Hare Krishna, pranams Mataji.
Text 67. Idam te nata pakshya nabhagya kadachana na chakshushve vanchya na chamam tuyati. Synonyms. Idam, this, te, by you, na, never, atapakshya, one who is not austere, na, never, abhaktya, to whom who is not a devotee, kadachana, at any time, na, never, cha, also, ashushrave, to one who is not engaged in devotional service, vachyam, to be spoken, na, never, cha, also, mam, toward me, here, anyone who, abhaya shuyati, is envious. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, not to one who is envious of me. Prabhupada, Prabhupada Krishna Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The person who have not undergone the austerities of the religious processes, who have never attempted devotional service in Krishna consciousness, who have not tended a pure devotee, and especially those who are conscious of Krishna only as a historical personality, or who are envious of the greatness of Krishna, should not be told this most confidential part of knowledge. It is, however, sometimes found that even demoniac persons who are envious of Krishna, worshipping Krishna in a different way, take to the profession of explaining Bhagavad Gita in a different way to make business. But anyone who desires actually to understand Krishna must avoid such commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Actually, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is not understandable to those who are sensuous. Even if one is not sensuous but is strictly following the disciplines enjoined in the Vedic scripture, if he is not a devotee, he also cannot understand Krishna. And even when one poses himself as a devotee of Krishna but is not engaged in Krishna consciousness activities, he also cannot understand Krishna. There are many persons who envy Krishna because he has explained in Bhagavad Gita that he is the supreme and that nothing is above him or equal to him. There are many persons who are envious of Krishna. Such persons should not be told of Bhagavad Gita, or they cannot understand. There is no possibility of faithless persons understanding Bhagavad Gita and Krishna. Without understanding Krishna from the authority of pure devotee, one should not try to comment upon Bhagavad. Hare Krishna, Maharaj, pranams. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Right. Also in the beginning, in chapter number 4, also Krishna tells Arjuna, why have I chosen you to be the recipient of Bhagavad Gita? Right? Because you are non-envious, because you're my devotee and you're my friend. That is the reason I have chosen you to actually give this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So here also again Krishna is repeating himself that this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita should not be given to anybody who is envious of the Lord, anybody who is who does not have faith in the Lord. Right? We discussed this in the past also, but we generally go and distribute books on the street. We don't know whether the devotee, whether that particular person has any faith in Krishna, whether that person believes in Krishna, whether that person is envious of Krishna. So how are we going and distributing the books? Right? Are we not following instructions of Krishna? Right? So in this case, Prabhupada, the senior devotees explain here, we are not distributing Bhagavad Gita. We are not distributing Krishna's instructions to anybody. We are not giving out Krishna's Bhagavad Gita with the translation. No, we are giving Krishna's Bhagavad Gita with the purports by Srila Prabhupada. We are giving Prabhupada's, following Prabhupada's instruction to distribute his books. We are giving out Bhagavad Gita as it is written by Prabhupada. Because even if people are envious, if they don't understand Krishna, if they study the purports of Srila Prabhupada, they will become non-envious. They will develop more faith in the study of Bhagavad Gita. So that is why we are not distributing Krishna's words. Because Krishna has told you should not give this knowledge to anybody who is non-envious. What are we doing? We are following Prabhupada's instructions. We are simply distributing Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is not just Krishna's instructions. It is to get Krishna's instructions together with the formula for practical application. Anybody and everybody who does not have faith in Krishna, who does not know Krishna, who is envious of Krishna, who's full of desires, who has no desires, whatever may be the situation of a person, such a person is qualified to read Prabhupada's books, because Prabhupada gives a philosophy in a way that it will transform people's minds, thoughts, and abilities to understand things in the right perspective. So we are distributing not Krishna's instructions, we are distributing Prabhupada's instructions to follow Krishna's instructions. Right? So there is a guide, right, which even a person who is not at all good in studies also goes through to understand and pass the exam. The prescribed textbook is only for those who are good and who are maintain that standard. But even for those who don't have that standard, there are guides given, right? Important question and answers. You understand these basics. Then you practice, and then you can, even the material platform, there are opportunities for everybody. So how can there not be an opportunity, right? Prabhupada has made this opportunity for all who are even envious of the Lord, because Prabhupada is given, periodically reiterating how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we need to do Anusharan and not Anukaran. We should not imitate the Lord. We should not become envious of the Lord just because the Lord has assumed a two-handed form and has come as Krishna. We should not assume that I am equal to Krishna. Right? And Prabhupada explains continuously how one can get happiness only by serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the instructions of Lord Sri Krishna are very beautifully presented in a way that even envious people's heart can get transformed. So we are distributing Prabhupada's books. So we are not distributing Krishna. We are not telling anyone, Krishna is telling this, you follow Krishna. If you're not envious, you take this book. No. We are telling, this is a book written by Srila Prabhupada. This is a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, which also has practical application, tips given by Prabhupada. Right? If you're having stress, if you're having anxiety, this is a book for you. Please read this. Right? How will this book help me? I'm not in any war. I'm not in the battlefield. That's where Prabhupada's purports makes it relevant for each and every one who's in the material world. So here, we are not telling about Krishna Jnana, Krishna Prem to anybody on the road. We are only giving Prabhupada's books, telling them, this has helped me. Please read this. This will help you manage your various problems of this material world, like stress and anxiety and fear and whatnot. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, text number 68. Sridhar Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, that was Pranam Mataji.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Ya idam paramam guhyam mad bhakteshu abhidasyati bhaktim mayi param kritva mam eva yeshyati asamshaya. Hare Krishna. Synonymous. Yeah, anyone who idam, this pranam, most guhyam, confidential secret, mat of mind, bhakteshu, among us devotees, abhidashyati, explains, bhaktim, devotional service, mayi, unto me, param, transcendental, kritva, doing, mam, unto me, eva, certainly, yeshadi, come, asamshaya, without doubt. Translation by Prabhupada ki jai. For one who explained the supreme secret to the devotee, pure devotional service is guaranteed. and at the end, he will come back to me. Purport. Generally, it is advised that Bhagavad Gita is discussed among us, the devotees only. For those who are not devotee, will understand neither Krishna nor Bhagavad Gita. Those who do not accept Krishna as he is and Bhagavad Gita as it is should not try to explain Bhagavad Gita whimsically and become offenders. Bhagavad Gita should be explained to persons who are ready to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is a subject matter for the devotee only and not for the philosophical speculator. Anyone, however, who tries to sincerely to present Bhagavad Gita as it is will advance in devotional activities and reach the pure devotion state of life. As a result of such pure devotion, he is sure to go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Some noise was coming in the background, I believe. I don't know. Okay. So, anyone who tries to sincerely present Bhagavad Gita as it is, right? So, Krishna himself tells, now Krishna is revealing, anyone who gives his knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to others, who gives the knowledge about me to others, is most dear to me, right? And Prabhupada in one of his lectures says, a father has 3 sons, right? The first son, he's very, very demanding. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want this, I want this, continuously demanding from the father, right? The second son, he takes care of his own things, right? He's not troublesome, he does his own things on his own. The third son is the eldest son, right? Who's not only taking care of his own things, but he also helps his brothers. He also helps the father in doing some of the activities of the father. So in this way, he is very, very he follows instructions of the father and is very helpful, right? So the father tells the third son, you're so troublesome, get out of the house. You're not listening to any of us. You're just you are so much of a trouble, right? So the youngest son is asked to leave the house because, he's very, very troublesome, right? But then later on, what happens? The eldest son, right? Who takes care of the other 2 sons and who follows instructions of the father. He goes to this, the youngest son of the father, his youngest brother, and tells him, how it is very nice, if he can come back to home and, follow the instructions of the father, it is ultimately beneficial. Somehow he convinces him and brings the son back. The father has ordered the son, the third son, to go out, get out, because you're not following my instructions. But just because the first son went and brought back this third son, after telling him, why it is important to follow our father's instructions, how, he's our father, he has, he cares for us, he only provides everything for us. So we should, follow our father's instructions, like that and all. And then he brings the son back home. So when the father sees that the son has come back home, is he going to be angry with the first son or is he going to be happy with the first son? Of course, the father only asked him to get out. The father may, somebody may think, the father will say, my first son has also become disobedient. He's now brought the son whom I asked him to get out. No. What is the inner desire of the father? The inner desire of the father is like he's so frustrated with the third son, he asks him to get out. But in his innermost core of the heart, he wants his son to get reformed and come back home. And this first son understands the heart of the father and brings this, his younger brother back home, and he pleases his father because of this. Right? Because he's brought his own son back home. And now the youngest son is also willing to follow the instructions. Right? So that is the role of the spiritual master. Right? Krishna is the father. Right? He is the supreme father. The elder son, who actually went and brought back this, youngest brother. Right? Is the spiritual master who actually goes out of his way, takes so much of trouble to please the Father, to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in this way, when he brings back, fallen conditioned souls like the youngest brother, then it's so pleasing to the Father, right? It's so much pleasing to the Father. Just like that, Krishna becomes so much pleased by those devotees who go out of their way to preach the message of Krishna consciousness and bring back all the, fallen conditioned souls into the path of bhakti. Right? The middle son is like those of us who are happy doing bhajananandi. Okay, I have got the bhakti, I will do my bhakti and I'm happy. Right? So they carry on that process. They neither please the father nor do they offend the father. But if you don't please the father, you don't progress fast. You go through the normal path. But that particular son, right, the first son who went out of his way, he also has the same 24 hours. But what did he do? He went out of his way to please his father. to do what his father had not told him, to follow the heart of his father, and to please his father, he went and did this, and he pleased his father. So in this way, he becomes more and more dear to the father, and the father will give him more and more instructions how we can do better service. That's exactly what happens, right? When we, according to our limited capacity, go out and preach the message of Krishna consciousness to all, according to our limited capacity, then Krishna sees our desire to preach. Krishna sees our desire to become dear to him, and Krishna will give us the intelligence. Yeah, right? What is that? Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna will give us remembrance, Krishna will give us forgetfulness, and Krishna will also give us the knowledge by which we can go back to him, and how we can bring more and more souls back to this path of bhakti, by which every one of us can go back home, back to Godhead. So, in this way, what does the elder son do? He finds out ways and means of how these people can be attracted to the process of Krishna consciousness. And in this way, he becomes very dear to the Supreme Father, right? So in this way, we can also become instruments, right? Just like Arjuna became an instrument for Lord Sri Krishna to deliver Bhagavad Gita to all of us. Nimitta matram bhavasabhya shachin. Like that, we can also become instruments in the hands of our spiritual masters, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev. And to our limited extent, we should go ahead and give this message to others. Yare dekhe tare kahe Krishna Upadesh. That was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction to everybody. Don't be satisfied by just sitting and doing your bhajana. That we have to do anyway in the morning. If you have to keep ourselves in bhakti, we have to chant Hare Krishna every day in the morning. And we have to wear the kavacha. Right? We have to wear the kavacha of the holy name and protect ourselves. And then we have to go out to the material world and give Krishna consciousness to everybody else. In that way, we will become dear to Krishna. And in this way, we will please our gurus by following their instructions, and ultimately we will please Lord Sri Krishna. The next verse is even more wonderful, where Krishna says, no one else is more dear to me than that person who actually preaches this message. Text number 69. Okay, Sindhu Mataji, go ahead. Sindhu Mataji, please unmute yourself. Are you there?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji. Shloka 69.
Hare Krishna.
Nachatasman manusheshu kaschinme priyakrittamah bhavita nachame tasmat anyah priyataro bhuvi. Synonyms: na, never, cha, and tasmat, than him, manusheshu, among men, kaschit, anyone, me, to me, priyakrittamah, more dear, bhavita, will become, na, not, cha, and me, to me, tasmat, than him, anyah, another, priyataraha, dearer, bhuvi, in this world. Translation: there's only translation by Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There's no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear.
Yeah, so it is up to us whether we want to be dear to Krishna. This is very, very clear instructions by Lord Sri Krishna. There's no one else more dear to me than one who preaches my glories by distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. We please Prabhupada and thereby please Krishna. Okay, Sindhu Mataji, go ahead. 70.
70th sloka. Adyeshyate chaya imam dharmyam sambadam avayoho jnana yagnena tenaham ishtah syam iti me matihi. Synonyms: adyeshyate, will study, cha, also, ya, he who, imam, this, dharmyam, sacred, samvadam, conversation, avayoho, of ours, jnana, of knowledge, yagnena, by the sacrifice, tena, by him, aham, I, ishtaha, worship, shyam, shall be, iti, thus, me, my, mati, opinion. Translation by Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And I declare that he who studies the sacred conversation of ours worship me by his intelligence.
Yeah, so this is the Falashruti, right? What happens to a person who hears this sacred conversation? Ours means the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. So our intelligence get purified by the study of Bhagavad Gita, by studying this divine conversation and hearing about this conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. It will purify our intelligence, by which we can direct our mind to engage our senses in bhakti, in devotional service. Okay, Mataji, go ahead. Text 71.
Text 71. Shradhavan anashuyascha shrunuyadapi yo naraha sopi muktaha shubha lokan prapnuyat punyakarmanam. Synonyms: Shraddhavan, faithful; Anasuyah, not envious; Cha and Shrunuyat, does hear; Api, certainly; Yaha, who; Naraha, a man; Sa, he; Api, also; Muktaha, being liberated; Shubhan, the auspicious; Lokan, planets; Prapnuyat, he attains; Punya Karmanam, of the pious. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Mataji, 1 second, I'll be back.
Okay, Rajneesh Prabhu, you can read. Go ahead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada,
Hare
Srila
Krishna.
Prabhupada.
Translation: and one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planet where the pious dwell. Purport: in the 67th verse of this chapter, the Lord explicitly forbade the Gita's being spoken to those who are envious of the Lord. In other words, Bhagavad Gita is for the devotees only, but it so happens that sometimes a devotee of the Lord will hold open class, and in that class, not all the students are expected to be devotees. Why do such persons hold open class? It is explained here that although not everyone is a devotee, still there are many men who are not advised of. They have faith in him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If such persons hear from a bona fide devotee about the Lord, the result is that they become at once free from all sinful reactions, and after that attain to the planetary system where all righteous persons are situated. Therefore, simply by hearing Bhagavad Gita, even a person who does not try to be a pure devotee attains the result of righteous activity. Thus, a pure devotee of the Lord gives everyone a chance to become free from all sinful reactions and to become a devotee of the Lord. Generally, those who are free from sinful reactions, those who are righteous, are very easily take to Krishna consciousness. The word punya, punya karmanam is very significant here. This refers to the performance of great sacrifices like the Avasmedha Yajan mentioned in the Vedic literature. Those who are righteous in performing devotional service but who are not pure can attain the planetary system of the pole star or Dhruv Lok, where Dhruv Maharaja is residing. He is a great devotee of the Lord and he has a special planet which is called pole star.
Yeah. So just by hearing Bhagavad Gita, even a sinful person can become purified. That is why we are distributing not just Bhagavad Gita shlokas and translation, but we are distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, which has got not just the shloka and the translation, but also the application principles of the Bhagavad Gita. Yes, Prabhu, go ahead. Text number 72.
कच्चिदेतच्छ्रुतं पार्थ त्वयैकाग्रेण चेतसा कच्चिज्ञानसम्मोहः प्रणष्टस्ते धनञ्जय. Synonyms: Kachit, whether; Itat, this; Srutam, heard; Sutam, heard; Partha, O son of Pratha; Toya, by you; Eta agrina, with full attention; Chesta, Chestasa, why the mind; Kachit, whether; Agyana, of ignorance; Sammoha, the illusion; Panasta, dispelled; Te, of you; Dhanam, Dhananjaya, O conqueror of wealth, that is Arjun. Translation: O son of Pratha, a conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled? Purpose: the Lord was acting as a spiritual master of Arjun Therefore, it was his duty to inquire from Arjun whether he understood the whole Bhagavad Gita in its proper perspective. If not, the Lord was ready to re-explain any point or the whole Bhagavad Gita if so required. Actually, anyone who hears Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Krishna or his representative will find that all his ignorance is dispelled. Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book written by a poet or fiction writer. It is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any person fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of ignorance.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare.
So this is very wonderful, isn't it? Here it is mentioned that one who hears from a bona fide spiritual master is as good as hearing it from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna himself. How is that? Because the message is transferred from one guru to another guru without any addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Right? From Krishna down to the four, the four bona fide guru paramparas. Right? If you take the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnava, Guru Parampara. So from Krishna to Brahma, to Narada, to Vyasadev. And then when this chain was broken, then again Krishna speaking this Gita to Arjuna. So in this way, the message is intact from one speaker to another speaker where nobody adds or subtracts anything in between. Right? So as good as hearing from Krishna is hearing from a bona fide spiritual master. And one more thing very important Prabhupada is mentioning here. Right? Krishna is asking Arjuna, have you understood? Right? Now Arjuna is not asking any more questions. Right? So now Krishna is asking Arjuna, have you understood? Right? And before Arjuna could actually reply, Krishna is again reiterating, giving a summary of everything. Manmana bhavad bhakto, sarvadharman parityaja, mamekam sharanam vraja. And then again, Krishna is telling, one who hears this conversation will be dispelled of all delusion. Now Arjuna, are you clear? Now let's see what Arjuna is replying after this. Text number 73. Okay, Sarvagopishri Mataji, you want to read?
Hare Krishna. Arjuna was Nashto Moha Smriti Labha Tat Prasadan Maya Chuta Sitosmi Gata Sandeha Karishye Vachanam Tavam. Synonyms. Arjuna Vacha. Arjuna said, Nashtaha, dispelled, Moha, illusion, Smritihi, memory, Labda, regain, Tat Prasadat, by your mercy, Maya, by me, Achyuta, O infallible Krishna, Sitaha, situated, Asmi, I am, Gata, removed, Sandeha, all doubts, Karishye, I shall execute, Vachanam, order, cover, your. Translation and by Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and I am prepared to act according to your instruction. Purport. The constitutional position of a living entity represented by Arjuna is that he has to act according to the order of the Supreme Lord. He is meant for self-discipline. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the actual position of the living entity is that of the eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Forgetting this principle, the living entity becomes conditioned by material nature. But in serving the Supreme Lord, he becomes the liberated servant of God. The living entity's constitutional position is to be a servitor. He has to serve either the illusory Maya or the Supreme Lord. If he serves the Supreme Lord, he is in his normal condition. But if he prefers to serve the illusory external energy, then certainly he will be in bondage. In illusion, the living entity is serving in this material world. He is bound by his lust and desire, yet he thinks of himself as the master of the world. This is called illusion. When a person is liberated, his illusion is over, and he voluntarily surrenders unto the Supreme to act according to his desire. The last illusion, the last snare of Maya to trap the living entity is the proposition or that he is God. The living entity thinks that he is no longer a conditioned soul, but God. He is so unintelligent that he does not think that if he were God, then how could he be in doubt? That he does not consider. So that is the last snare of illusion. Actually, to become free from the illusionary energy is to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and agree to act according to his order. The word moha is very important in this verse. Moha refers to that which is opposed to knowledge. Actually, real knowledge is the understanding that every living being is eternally a servitor of the Lord. But instead of thinking oneself in that position, the living entity thinks that he is not a servant and he is the master of the material world. For he wants to lord it over the material nature. That is his illusion. This illusion can be overcome by the mercy of the Lord or by the mercy of your pure devotee. When that illusion is over, one agrees to act in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is acting according to the Krishna's order. A conditioned soul, illusioned by the external energy of matter, does not know that the Supreme Lord is the master who is full of knowledge and who is the proprietor of everything. Whatever he decides, he can bestow upon his devotee. He is the friend of everyone, and he is especially inclined to his devotee. He is the control of this material nature and all living entities. He is also the controller of inexhaustible time, and he is full of all opulences and all potencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can even give himself to the devotee. One who does not know him under the spell of illusion, he does not become a devotee, but a servitor of Maya. Arjuna, however, after hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, became free from all illusion. He could understand that Krishna was not only his friend, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he understood Krishna factually. So, to study Bhagavad Gita is to understand Krishna factually. When a person is full knowledge, he naturally surrenders to Krishna. When Arjuna understood that it was Krishna's plans to reduce the unnecessary increase of population, he agreed to fight according to Krishna's desire. He again took up his weapons, his arrows and bow, to fight under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So this is really wonderful, right? She was asking so many questions. Arjuna was asking questions chapter after chapter after chapter. Finally, in verse number 73, what is he saying? Very, very important line. Karishe vachanam tava. Oh Krishna, I am prepared to act according to your instructions. So this is the conclusion that we also have to arrive at after our study of Bhagavad Gita. If we have heard with rapt attention, if we've heard with a surrendered heart, if we've heard with surrenderance, then this is the conclusion that we will also arrive at after the study of the Bhagavad Gita. Oh Krishna, oh Guru Maharaj, thank you for giving me this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Now I will act according to the instructions given in Bhagavad Gita. The supremmost instruction being Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mame Vaishasi Satyam Te Prati Jane Priyosime. These 4 instructions. And Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Right? Next Monday, when we are starting with Bhagavatam, we will start with what is the dharma that needs to be given up and what is the dharma that we need to continue to follow. Right? Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam sata. That kaitava dharma of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Having myself in the center of all the activities. What is in it for me? What will I gain out of this? That is the dharma that we need to give up. But what is the dharma that we need to follow? The dharma that will give us yenatma suprasidati savipumsam paro dharma yata bhakti rudokshaji ahituki apratiyata yatma suprasidati. That dharma by which we can get eternal satisfaction. That dharma by which we are able to render unmotivated, uninterrupted service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the dharma that we need to continue to follow. Right? So that we attain Krishna Prema, and that dharma we will continue even afterwards. Right? So this is the most important section, verse of the Bhagavad Gita, wherein Arjuna is saying, now I am cleared of all of my illusion, and now I will do what you are asking me to do. So in this way, Arjuna understands Bhagavad Gita. Right? Initially, the first verse, if we understand, the first verse also starts with Dhritarashtra inquiring, and we also say Arjuna inquiring. But then Dhritarashtra has not come to the right conclusion, whereas Arjuna has come to the right conclusion. Why? It depends on the attitude of the hearer. Right? In Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada says, The advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. Right? We may hear classes, we may do bhakti, but as long as we have the attitude of putting into practice in a humble attitude to put into practice the instructions of our spiritual master, we may have knowledge, but it will only increase the weight of our head. It will not increase the humility of our heart. When it increases the humility of our heart, we will be able to follow the instructions. Right? Even though we may not understand, we will ask questions after questions after questions. But then once we understood, then we follow the instructions without a question. That's what it is. So, Karishye Vachanam Tava. That is the conclusion. Now, the rest of the verses, Anusha Mataji. Okay, Anusha Mataji, please read text number 74. And Karpagavali Mataji can read few verses. Manasi Mataji also can read. All right, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much, Mataji. इत्यहं वासुदेवस्य पार्थस्य च महात्मनः संवादम् इममश्रौषम् अद्भुतं रोमहर्षणम्. Synonyms. Sanjay Uvacha. Sanjay said, Iti, thus, aham, I, Vasudevasya, of Krishna, Parthasya, and Arjuna, cha, also, Mahatmanaha, of the great soul, Samvadham, discussion, Imam, this, Asrausham, have heard, Adbhutam, wonderful, Roma Harshanam, making the hair stand on the end. Translation and by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Sanjay said, thus I have heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna. And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. Purport. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Dhritarashtra inquired from his secretary, Sanjaya, what happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The entire study was related to the heart of Sanjaya by the grace of his spiritual master, Vyasa. He thus explained the theme of the battlefield. The conversation was wonderful because such an important conversation between two great souls had never taken place before and would not take place again. It was wonderful because the Supreme Personality of Godhead was speaking about himself and his energies to the living entity Arjuna, a great devotee of the Lord. If we follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna, then our life will be happy and successful. Sanjaya realized this, and as he began to understand it, he related the conversation to Dhritarashtra. Now it is concluded that wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there is victory. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, go ahead. Next
Yeah.
verse.
Vyasa prasadat Shruthavan etad guhyam aham param yogam yogeshwarat Krishnat sakshat katyatah swayam. Synonyms. Vyasa prasadat, by the mercy of Vyasadeva, Shruthavan, have heard, etat, this, guhyam, confidential, aham, I, param, the supreme, yogam, mysticism, yoga ishwarat, from the master of all mysticism, krishnat, from Krishna, sakshat, directly, katyataha, speaking, swayam, personally. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. By the mercy of Vyasa, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna. Purport. Vyasa was the spiritual master of Sanjaya, and Sanjaya admits that it was by Vyasa's mercy that he could understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that one has to understand Krishna not directly through the medium of the spirit, not directly, but through the medium of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is the transparent medium, although it is true that the experience is still direct. This is the mystery of the disciplic succession. When the spiritual master is bona fide, then one can hear Bhagavad Gita directly as Arjuna heard it. There are many mystics and yogis all over the world, but Krishna is the master of all yoga systems. Krishna's instruction is explicitly stated in the Bhagavad Gita, surrender unto Krishna. One who does so is the topmost yogi. This is confirmed in the last verse of the 6th chapter, Yoginam api sarvesham. Narada is the direct disciple of Krishna and the spiritual master of Vyasa. Therefore, Vyasa is as bona fide as Arjuna because he comes in the disciplic succession, and Sanjaya is the direct disciple of Vyasa. Therefore, by the grace of Vyasa, Sanjaya's senses were purified and he could see and hear Krishna directly. One who directly hears Krishna can understand this confidential knowledge. If one does not come to the disciplic succession, he cannot hear Krishna. Therefore, his knowledge is always imperfect, at least as far as understanding Bhagavad Gita is concerned. In Bhagavad Gita, all the yoga systems, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga are explained. Krishna is the master of all such mysticism. It is to be understood, however, that as Arjuna was fortunate enough to understand Krishna directly, so by the grace of Vyasa, Sanjaya was also able to hear Krishna directly. Actually, there is no difference between hearing directly from Krishna and hearing directly from Krishna via a bona fide spiritual master like Vyasa. The spiritual master is the representative of Vyasadeva also. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, on the birthday of the spiritual master, the disciples conduct the ceremony called Vyas Puja. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So this is very, very wonderful, isn't it? Where Prabhupada is clearly reiterating that hearing from Krishna and hearing from his bona fide spiritual master are one and the same. Right? So it is not that, oh, when Krishna comes and teaches me Bhagavad Gita, only then I will study Bhagavad Gita. Krishna has already given the Bhagavad Gita for us only. Right? Arjuna is already a delivered soul. Right? And Arjuna is just a nimitta matram, Bhavasavya Sachin. Right? They're just a person who is actually delivering the instructions of Lord Sri Krishna. Right? Through Arjuna, it is delivered to all of us. So he is just via media. Right? That is why even though Arjuna did not ask any questions, again and again Krishna is reiterating that point. Have you understood? Before that, he is again repeating instructions. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Arjuna is already a manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. He is already offering obeisances. In the 11th chapter, it's continuously offering obeisances to Krishna, seeing his universal form. Right? So in this way, Arjuna is already a pure devotee. But this question is for us. Right? What is your decision after having studied the entire Bhagavad Gita? Are we willing to follow the instruction of our gurus after having understood that the best method to understand Bhagavad Gita and to attain the goal of life is to simply render service to the spiritual master, hear about Krishna from the spiritual master, and ask inquiries very humbly, in a humble state of mind. All right, text number 76. Oh, text number 70. Text number 76. Yeah. Now this is ecstasies of Sanjaya. Okay, text number 76. Katpakuli Mataji, go ahead. Text number 76.
Yes, Mataji. Am I audible, Mataji?
Yes, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Rajan samsmitaya sampadam imam adbudam kesavajjunayo punyam hridayami cha muhi. Rajan, okay. Samsudaya, remembering. Sambadam, message. Imam, this. Adbudam, wonderful. Kesava of Lord Krishna. Arjunayu and Arjuna. Punyam, pious. Hirdhyami, I am taking pleasure. Cha also. Muhi, repeatedly. O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. Proper Prabhupada Gita. The understanding of Bhagavad Gita is so transcendental that anyone who becomes conversant with the topics of Arjuna and Krishna becomes righteous, and he cannot forget such talks. This is the transcendental portion of spiritual life. In other words, one who hears Gita from the right source directly from Krishna attains full Krishna consciousness. The result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened and he enjoys life with a thrill, and not only for some time but at every moment. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. 77, go ahead.
Thank you. Text 77. Tachat samsaya rupam adi adbudam hari. Tacha samsaya rupam adi adbudam hari. Viswamayomi maharajan Hristyami cha punya. Punah, sorry. That cha also samsudya, remembering rupam form, ati greatly, atpudam wonderful, hari all of Lord Krishna, Vismaya wonder, me my Mahan great Rajan, O kings, Hristyami I am enjoying, cha also punaha repeatedly. Translation. O king, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again. Perfect. It appears that Sanjaya also, by grace of Vyasa, could see the universal form of Krishna exhibited to exhibited to Arjuna. It is, of course, that Lord Krishna had never exhibited such a form before. It was exhibited to Krishna, Arjuna only. Yet some great devotees could also see the universal form of Krishna when it was shown to Arjuna, and Vyasa was one of them. He is one of the great devotees of Lord, and he is considered to be a powerful incarnation of Krishna. Vyasa disclosed this to his disciple Sanjaya, who remembered that wonderful form of Krishna exhibited to Arjuna and enjoyed it repeatedly.
Yeah. So whenever the transcendental knowledge is heard from a pure devotee of the Lord, in this case, Sanjaya heard it from, Dhritarashtra, what is it? Dhritarashtra heard it from Sanjaya. So there was no difference between the actual Arjuna hearing it from Krishna and Sanjaya actually sitting in the palace of Hastinapura and hearing it through the mercy of Vyasadeva. Right? There's no difference. Why? Because the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead flows through his representatives. Right? It is the actual mercy of Krishna only which is given. But that such mercy flows through the representatives of the Lord himself. Right? So in this case, Sanjay also was able to arrive at the final truth of the Bhagavad Gita, although it was not spoken to him. By the grace of Vyasadeva, he could hear the Bhagavad Gita. He could see the Vishwarupa form of Krishna and he could explain it to Bhagavad Gita. He explained it to Dhritarashtra. However, Dhritarashtra could not get the ultimate truth. Why? Because in his mind, he was always thinking, what is happening to my sons and the sons of Pandu? Are they fighting? Are they, his mind was not into what I should do. What is my duty? Right? What I should understand from this Bhagavad Gita. If his attitude had been that of Arjuna or even that of Sanjaya, then what happens with an open mind? If he had heard it, he would have also got the same conclusion as was got by Arjuna, as was got by Sanjaya. Now this last verse of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, who is reading it? Okay, Manasi Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Yatra
Yes.
Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruvo Nitir Matir Mamaha. Yatra where Yogeshwara, the master of mysticism, Krishna, Lord Krishna, Yatra where Partha, the son of Partha, Dhanurdhara, the carrier of bow and arrow, Tatra there, Shri, opulence, Vijaya, victory, Bhuti, exceptional power, Dhruva, certainty, Niti, morality, Mati, Mama is my opinion. In translation purport by Shrupa Jai Shrupa. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjun, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. Purport. The Bhagavad Gita began with an inquiry of Dhritarashtra. He was hopeful of the victory of his sons, assisted by great warriors like Bhishma, Drona, and Karna. He was hopeful that the victory would be on his side. But after describing the scene in the battlefield, Sanjay told the king, "You are thinking of victory, but my opinion is that where Krishna and Arjun are present, there will be all good fortune." He directly confirmed that Dhritarashtra could not expect victory for his side. Victory was certain for the side of Arjun because Krishna was there. Krishna's acceptance of the post of charioteer for Arjun was an exhibition of another opulence. Krishna is full of all opulences and renunciation is one of them. There are many instances of such renunciation, for Krishna is also the master of renunciation. The fight was actually between Duryodhan and Yudhishthir. Arjuna was fighting on behalf of his elder brother Yudhishthir. Because Krishna and Arjuna were on the side of Yudhishthir, Yudhishthir's victory was certain. The battle was to decide who would rule the world, and Sanjay predicted that the power would be transferred to Yudhishthir. It is also predicted here that Yudhishthir, after gaining victory in the battle, would flourish more and more because he was not only righteous and pious, but he was a strict moralist. He never spoke a lie during his life. There are many less intelligent persons who take Bhagavad Gita to be a discussion of topics between two friends in a battlefield, but such a book cannot be scripture. Some may protest that Krishna incited Arjun to fight, which is immoral, but the reality of the situation is clearly stated. Bhagavad Gita is a supreme instruction in morality. The supreme instruction of morality stated in the 9th chapter in the 34th verse, Man mana bhava mat bhakta. One must become a devotee of Krishna. And the essence of all religion is to surrender unto Krishna, as stated, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita constitute the supreme process of religion and of morality. All other processes may be purifying and may lead to this process, but the last instruction of the Gita is the last word in all morality and religion: surrender unto Krishna. This is the verdict of the 18th chapter. From Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that to realize oneself by philosophical speculation and by meditation in one process, but to follow, surrender unto Krishna is the highest perfection. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. The path of regulative principles according to the orders of social life and according to the different courses of religion may be a confidential path of knowledge in as far as the rituals of religion are confidential, but one is still involved with meditation and cultivation of knowledge. Surrender unto Krishna in devotional services, full Krishna consciousness is the most confidential instruction and is the essence of the 18th chapter. Another feature of Bhagavad Gita is that the actual truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Absolute truth is realized in these three features.
Impersonal Brahman,
Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Perfect knowledge of the Absolute means perfect knowledge of Krishna. If one understands Krishna, then all the departments of knowledge are part and parcel of the understanding. Krishna is transcendental, for he is always situated in his eternal internal potency. The living entities are manifested and are divided into two classes: eternally conditioned and eternally liberated. Such living entities are innumerable and they are considered fundamental parts of Krishna. Material energy is manifested into 24 divisions. The creation is affected by eternal time, and it is created and dissolved by external energy. This manifestation of the cosmic world repeatedly becomes visible and invisible. In Bhagavad Gita, 5 principal subject matters have been discussed: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, material nature, the living entities, the eternal time, and all kinds of activities. All of these are dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. All conceptions of the absolute truth, namely impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, or any other transcendental conception, exist within the category of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although superficially the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity, material nature, and time appear to be different, nothing is different from the Supreme. But the Supreme is always different from everything. Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is that of inconceivably one and different. This system of philosophy constitutes perfect knowledge of the absolute truth. The living entity in his original position is pure spirit. He's just like an atomic particle of the Supreme Spirit. The conditioned living entity, however, is the marginal energy of the Lord. He tends to be in contact with both the material energy and the spiritual energy.
thus Lord Krishna may be compared to the sun and the living entities to sunshine. Because the living entities are the marginal energy of Krishna, they have a tendency to be in contact either with the material energy or with the spiritual energy. You found that?
Okay, this is not there in my book. Okay, let me read from your screen. The living entity in this original position is pure spirit. He is just like an atomic particle of the Supreme Spirit. Thus, Lord Krishna may be compared to the sun and the living entities to sunshine, because the living entities are the marginal energy of Krishna.
They have a tendency to be in contact either with the material energy or with the spiritual energy. Mataji, we lost your voice. Okay, no problem. I'll just conclude the last section. In other words, the living entity is situated between the two energies of the Lord, and because he belongs to the superior energy of the Lord, he has a particle of independence. By proper use of that independence, he comes under the direct order of Krishna. Thus, he attains his normal condition in the pleasure-giving potency. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 18th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of its conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. So this is a quick summary that Prabhupada gives in the entire purport, talking about the 5 subject matters: Ishvara, Jiva, Kala, Prakriti, and Karma, and how all the others, right? Ishvara, Prakriti, Jiva, Kala, and Karma. They're all dependent on this one element called Ishvara, who is eternal, right? Everyone else is his energies. They are manifested according to his energy. right? And the living entity is also pure spirit, but like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talks about the Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. That means we are equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in quality, but yet we are infinitesimal and the Lord is infinite. And hence, the duty of the infinitesimal is to actually render service to the infinite. Just like, Prabhupada gives example of a hand to the body, right? The hand has its value and can be of some use only when it is connected to the body. It is serving the body. But if the hand wants to serve itself and is, cut off and is lying down on the road, then what is the use of the hand, right? There is no use of the hand. So similarly, we are all parts and parcels of the Lord. It is our duty to serve the Lord. As long as we are engaged in the service of the Lord, service we have to do. That is our constitutional position. Either we serve Krishna or we serve Maya. If we choose to serve Krishna, then there is some value to our existence because we've understood the real truth of life, that Jivera Swarupa He Krishna and Nitya Das. The goal of the human form of life is to serve Krishna, to satisfy Krishna, and to please Krishna. And how we can do that is by these two important verses of Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. And then Sarvadharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vrajas. Exclusively surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Sarvadharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Bhapebhyo Mokshayishyami Ma Shuchaha. I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not worry. So this is the promise by Lord Sri Krishna. And continuing from the end of Bhagavad Gita, next Monday we will start off with Srimad Bhagavatam. So what is the surrender? What do we have to give up? And what is the dharma that we need to follow? What is the dharma we need to give up? All of that we will start from the study of Srimad Bhagavatam, the causeless mercy of Guru Gauranga, Radha Krishna. In the auspicious month of Kartik, we've completed the study of Bhagavad Gita. My sincere gratitude to all the participants who joined us every day. And because of your association, we could complete this Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. The verse, the synonyms, the translation, the purport, Srila Prabhupada. We've read cover to cover by the grace of Guru and Gauranga for their pleasure. So thank you very much for joining us in this transcendental journey, and a bigger journey awaits. This is just 18 chapters. Now we're going to talk about 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam that's going to run into 18 volumes. So please do join us for the transcendental study. We'll start from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which Prabhupada carried with him as he went to the Western world to preach the message of Krishna consciousness. So please do join us every Monday, Tuesday for the study of Srimad Bhagavatam starting next week. And of course, we meet on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to study the Krishna book, right? So Srimad Bhagavatam is the lovely pastime about the Lord as told by his wonderful devotees and also the pastimes of the devotees. Right, it's a song by the devotees about the Lord, and Krishna book is the sweetness of the Lord personified, the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's going to be a wonderful combination of philosophy in both the places, but we will talk about the greatness of the Lord as we start with the first canto. Janma Dhyasya Yatonvayad Itaratas. The Lord is supreme, the Lord is supremely cognizant, the Lord is the supreme absolute truth. And then we're going to study Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The Lord is so sweet. The Lord runs away from his mother. So it's going to be very wonderful. Please do join us Monday to Friday for the study of Bhagavatam and Krishna book. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Krishna book ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. So we'll express our gratitude to their lordships and all the wonderful Vaishnavas by nicely singing Harinam Sankirtan. Please to join us in this Harinam Sankirtan, and then we'll take darshan of all the devotees who have stayed back. We are 20 minutes late, but yet devotees are very kindly staying back. Thank you very much. We'll take darshan of the devotees and then we'll end our session. And then this is our grand culmination of Bhagavad Gita. So expressing my sincere gratitude to all the devotees, to Guru and Gauranga. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Asatyadishtatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jai Jai Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadrama Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Balagopal Jaya Radha Madhav Jai Radha Sham Sundar Jaya Radha Rasa Bihari Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radhe Radhe Jaya Sri Radhe Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Jai Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Gopinath Jaya Sri Radhe Jaya Radhe 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 Sri Radhe Jai Jat Goswami Jaya Guru Parampara Jai Prabhupada Jaya Guru Devanitai Gaura Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय कलियुग भावना हरिनाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय ग्रंथराज कृष्णा बुक की जय जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णवा वृंद की जय निताय गौरा प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल Hare Krishna. So we have Mansi Mataji, you have raised your hand. I don't know if you have still raised for reading. We've completed the study. So you can switch on your cameras and give us your darshan. Harjeet Mataji, Namish Prabhu has also completed Bhagavad Gita today. Haribol! Sarva Gopeshwari Mataji, Anusha Mataji, Pranab Prabhu has also completed Haribol! Sridhar Prabhu, Srimati Shamapriya Mataji, Rajneesh Prabhu, Karpagavalli Mataji, our Shobha Mataji, and all the devotees who are not switching on your cameras. Thank you very much for your association. Thank you very much for joining us in this transcendental journey. Very, very blissful, very, very happy, isn't it? The smiles on all your faces indicates so much of happiness, and I'm so grateful to all of you. Thank you very much for joining in this transcendental journey, and a bigger journey begins right from now. Please do join us for Krishna book study tomorrow and next Monday for the Srimad Bhagavatam study. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna. So we'll end our session here. There are no hands raised. So we hope that the Bhagavad Gita study has become, we've understood completely the Bhagavad Gita, because we need to move on. Prabhupada said this is a preliminary study. Now we need to go for our college education. We're going to start Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we will do Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we have to continue our journey forever. Thank you very much for your association. Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna. So we'll meet you all tomorrow morning, 5 o'clock.